There's a dangerous chain reaction beginning over the United States right now, and most people have no idea it is even in motion. It starts with heat, a powerful dome of high pressure, one of the strongest on the planet, building over the Rockies and the plains and preparing to push a wave of the season's most brutal temperatures across tens of millions of people. But this is not a video about a heat wave, because a heat dome like this is only stage one of a sequence, a set of dominoes standing in a row waiting to fall. And when they start to topple one after another, the final domino is not heat at all. It is violence, fast-moving, destructive storms unleashed by the collapse of the very heat that built up before them. This is a chain reaction, and today we are going to walk through it link by link, where it begins, how it builds, and the exact moment it collapses, and what that collapse triggers next. Because once you can see the whole sequence laid out in front of you, you will never look at a heat wave the same way again. I'm going to give it to you straight, the way I always do. The real forecast pattern, the real science, and the honest uncertainty about exactly when and where the worst of it lands, because that honesty is what actually keeps you safe. This is not fear bait, it is a roadmap. So let us follow the dominoes one by one and see exactly where this chain reaction leads. Let us get into it. But before we do me one quick favor. Drop a comment right now and tell me, where are you watching from, and is this heat headed your way? And have you ever been caught off guard by a storm that blew up right as a heat wave was breaking? Tell me about it. I read every single comment. And if you want to follow this chain reaction as it unfolds and know the moment it reaches your area, subscribe right now. It is completely free. Hit that like button too. Let us push for 5,000 likes on this one so the algorithm gets it out to the people in its path. All right, let us follow the dominoes. Domino 1, the build. This is where we are right now. A large, powerful zone of high pressure, a heat dome, is strengthening and expanding over the central United States, forecast to spread eastward toward major population centers and bring the hottest temperatures of the season. Here is what is physically happening. Under that dome of high pressure, air sinks, and as it sinks, it compresses and warms and clears the sky, letting the sun bake the ground relentlessly. Day after day, the heat accumulates because the dome acts like a lid, trapping it in place. Nights stay warm, humidity climbs, and this is the crucial thing to understand about Domino 1. While the dome is trapping all that heat at the surface, it is simultaneously loading the atmosphere with energy. Heat and moisture are fuel. The longer the dome bakes the region, the more of that fuel piles up, held down by the cap of high pressure like steam trapped in a sealed pressure cooker. Right now, that pressure cooker is being loaded. That is stage one, and it is already dangerous on its own because the heat itself is a genuine life-threatening hazard for millions of people. But it is only the beginning of the sequence. Domino 2, the peak. As the dome reaches full strength, the heat becomes most intense and most dangerous. This is when you see the record-challenging temperatures, the heat index soaring past 100 degrees, the warnings and advisories blanketing the map, the strain on the power grid as everyone runs their air conditioning at once. And around the outer edges of the dome, something is already stirring. Even at peak strength, the dome cannot contain all the energy perfectly. Along its rim, where the high pressure is a little weaker, storms begin to fire. Meteorologists call them ring of fire storms because they form in an arc around the edge of the dome, where the trapped instability finds its first escape route. These edge storms are the early warning sign. They are the first small cracks in the cap. They tell you the pressure cooker is straining, and they are the bridge to the next, most critical domino. Domino 3, the trigger. This is the moment everything changes, the collapse. Eventually, the dome cannot hold. Maybe the high pressure weakens. Maybe it shifts position. Maybe a disturbance comes racing in from the west, or cold front pushes into the edge of the dome. Whatever the specific trigger, the effect is the same. The cap comes off the pressure cooker. And all that heat, all that moisture, all that stored up energy that was being held down for days suddenly has a way out, and it erupts. This is why there is a saying among meteorologists that heat waves often end with a bang. As the dome collapses, those ring of fire storms that were circling the edges begin to march inward, toward the center of the shrinking dome, straight into the heart of all that pent-up fuel. Feeding on the enormous reservoir of heat and moisture, they explode upward into violent thunderstorms. The trigger has been pulled. The chain reaction has reached its most dangerous link. Domino 4, what it triggers next. So what actually comes out of this collapse? The storms born from a heat dome breakdown can be genuinely severe, and the number one danger is usually not the tornado everyone instinctively pictures. It is wind. Damaging straight-line winds. Gusts capable of reaching 60, 70, 80 miles per hour or more. To give you a sense of how real this is, a heat dome collapse earlier this summer produced storm wind gusts in the range of 80 to 85 miles per hour. That is enough to snap mature trees, tear off roofs, hurl debris, and knock out power to entire communities. And when these wind-producing storms organize and lock together into one long-lived, fast-charging line, they can escalate into a derecho, a windstorm that carves a continuous path of destruction across hundreds of miles. Alongside the wind, these collapsing patterns often bring torrential, flooding downpours, because the atmosphere is absolutely saturated with moisture from all those days of heat and humidity. So the collapse can trigger a 1-2 punch. Violent winds and flash flooding, sometimes in the same storm. That is the final, most dangerous domino in the sequence. Now let me be completely honest with you about the uncertainty, because that is what separates real forecasting from hype. I can show you this chain reaction with confidence, because the physics of it is well understood and the overall pattern is clearly setting up. What I cannot tell you with precision, days ahead, is the exact hour and the exact town where the worst storms will hit, because that depends on precisely when and where the dome collapses, and those specifics only come into focus in the final day or two before it happens. So this is not a promise of a specific disaster at a specific address. It is a roadmap of a sequence that is genuinely in motion, so that when the severe weather outlooks sharpen and light up for your region, you already understand exactly what stage of the chain reaction you are in. Watch your local forecasts closely as the heat peaks, because that is your signal that the collapse and the storms are approaching. And here's the domino that most people never see coming, the one that makes this whole sequence so uniquely dangerous. Look at the timing. The storms are triggered by the collapse of the heat, which means they strike at the very end of a period of extreme heat. So imagine the sequence reaching its conclusion. A violent line of storms tears through, and its damaging winds knock out power to hundreds of thousands of people. And now those people are left with no air conditioning, no fans, no way to cool their homes in the immediate aftermath of a dangerous heat wave, potentially for days while the power is restored. That is the hidden final domino. A deadly combination where the storm does its damage and then the loss of power during lingering heat threatens even more lives, especially among the elderly and the vulnerable. The heat and the collapse are not two separate events. They are one connected chain, and the last link can be the deadliest of all. So how do you protect yourself across this entire chain reaction? You prepare for each stage. During the build and the peak, the heat, stay hydrated before you feel thirsty. Stay in air conditioning during the hottest hours, and if you do not have it, know where your community's cooling centers are. Check on elderly neighbors, relatives, and anyone living alone. Never leave a child or pet in a parked car. And learn the signs of heat illness, dizziness, nausea, a pounding headache, confusion, and heavy sweating that suddenly stops. Because heat stroke is a medical emergency. Then, as the collapse approaches, the storms, charge your phone and backup batteries to full while the power is still on. Bring loose outdoor objects inside so they cannot become projectiles. Make sure you have a way to get weather warnings that will wake you at night, since these storms favor the late day and overnight hours. Treat a damaging wind warning exactly like a tornado warning. Get inside, away from windows, and stay there. And plan for the final domino, an extended power outage during heat, by knowing where you would go to stay cool, keeping water and food on hand, and checking on your neighbors after the storm passes. Let me leave you with the bigger thought, because this chain reaction teaches something important about how nature really works. We like to think of weather as a series of separate events. First it is hot, then it storms, then it clears. But the truth is that these things are deeply connected, links in a single chain, each one setting up the next. The heat dome is not just a heat wave, it is the first domino, quietly loading the atmosphere with the very energy that will later be unleashed against us. And the moment of relief that everyone waits for, the breakdown, the cool down, is often the most dangerous link of all. The people who come through these patterns safely are the ones who can see the whole sequence, who understand that the calm heat and the violent storm are two ends of the same chain, and who stay ready right through the moment the heat finally breaks. You now have that whole picture. You have watched the dominoes line up, and you know exactly which way they fall. That knowledge is the difference between being caught off guard and being ready. We are going to keep tracking this chain reaction from the first domino to the last. So subscribe so you never miss an update. And drop that comment I asked for at the start. Is this heat headed your way? And have you ever been surprised by a storm as a heat wave broke? Because behind every link in this chain are real people and real families trying to stay safe. And looking out for each other is how we all get through it. Let us hit 5,000 likes on this one. Stay cool, stay alert, stay safe, look out for the people around you, and I will see you in the next one.